Hey kids, it's cooking time again. It's early this morning. It's cold outside, so I'm gonna make some beef tips and noodles for supper tonight. So let me show you what we've gotten together for the cook. Okay, so let me show you what I've got here. I got out a nice big deep stew pot. It has a lid over here. This is about a pound plus-ish of some beef tips. I have some cooking wine, red cooking wine, some water, some avocado oil, some butter, and some basil. So I'm going to get over here and I'm going to get this on a medium-high heat or so, get it warmed up, and then we'll start the cook. Okay, so I have my pan back here. It's nice and warm. I can feel the heat starting to radiate off the bottom, which is good. And now I'm going to add some oil and some butter together. Okay, that's about a half a tablespoon or so of butter. We'll let that start to simmer in there. And we're going to add some oil together, because if you add them together, then the butter will not scorch or brown, and that's what we want. And we're going to let that, ooh, it's starting to get warm, see what there? And we're going to get the beef ready out of the bag so we can add it in just a moment. Okay, that's all melted. I swiveled around the pot so that it all incorporates together. And I'm getting ready to dump the beef tips in there. Hopefully I don't dump them on the floor. Oh, that's good. You can hear that good sear. Good sear is starting. I'm just going to break these apart. Some of these guys are pretty big, but that's okay. We're going to slow cook them and let them get so tender that they just break apart. But this will be our first step. So I'm going to let these start cooking this, break them apart, and make sure that we have them all separated, one from the other, and let them sear. And I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. Okay kids, so what I've done so far is taken my spoon here and I've broken apart all the different pieces of the meat and the cuts, trying to get them down into that oil and butter that we've got there so they can start to sear. That is not a sear. That's not really what we're wanting, but this will all cook off to get that good lovely sear, and then we'll start a good broth on it. But this is our starting point, okay? So we're gonna let this cook a little bit. I'll be back in a bit. Seems like there's a lot of extra water too coming out of the meat. I don't like that, but we'll find out how to fix that and make it better. Well, occasionally when you're cooking, things don't turn out the way you want to. For some reason, this stewed meat has way more moisture in it than what I would have ever anticipated. And the meat will then become tender if you boil it. So we're going to regroup and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so even though this is cooking, this is what's happening. You see this right here? That meat is going to be tough if we're not careful, and that's not what we want. We want this stuff to be to where it's falling apart. So we're going to regroup here by doing this, which is what I was going to eventually get to anyway, but I wanted a good sear on this to have some good stuff in the broth. We're going to go ahead and add to it a little bit of basil. I'm going to put some salt in it, a little bit pepper. I'm going to add, hang on just a second, I got to clear across the kitchen here, I got to grab it. Here's about a quarter cup of red cooking wine. That will help tenderize that. And then we're going to cover all this up with water. Ooh, it smells good. And let it cook in that wonderful juice on a slow all day. So this is going to be a long time for cooking video, but I'm going to put this on like that. I'm going to cover it with a lid, and I'm going to just let this stuff cook for about, I don't know, 2-3 hours minimum before I even come back and check it. I have it on like a 6 on the stove. I'm going to turn it down to about a 3 to 4, someplace in there, and I'm just going to let it cook. And then we'll come back in a while and we'll check and see how it's doing. Okay kids, it's been a few hours and I'm going to check on the beef, and I want to let you take a look and see what I found out. Okay, so must have had the toughest meat in the meat counter, but I used my potato masher and I'm chopping it all up, and that's really wonderful. That's what we want. All going to be good. Okay kids, we're back many hours later. I've let the beef cook down for about 3 to 4 hours, and then I just turned it off after I shredded it. So I've got it in the pot. I'm warming it back up. Okay, so there's the beef. There's the beef. Doesn't have a lot of broth in it, but that's okay. I have taken, and over here I have started off with a little bit of water and some beef bouillon, which I'm going to add to it. I've got my noodles out and ready. My water is on the stove here, getting hot for the noodles to cook. And yes, green beans are going to be added to the dinner, as is some corn on the cob, which I'm going to microwave. That's real easy to do. I'll tell you about it. But anyhow, well, that's where we are at the moment. We're just getting things warmed up so we can finish up the cook, and we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so I have went ahead and put in the beef bouillon in with the rest of the beef, and that's up to temperature now, and it's starting to boil, and I'm going to dump the egg noodles right in on top of that and let them cook in that wonderful broth. So there's some leftovers I had from another dish I made once upon a time. Add some more to that, I think. Put some more in there like that. Smush them down in that water there a little bit. Let them cook slowly, and as they get done, we'll check and make sure that we have enough broth. We'll make a gravy, and it'll all be delicious and yummy. So I'm going to put a few more in there, get them down in that water, and let them cook a bit. And we'll see how they look here in a little bit. Okay, so the noodles have been cooking about 10 minutes. They need a little bit more. They're a little al dente. I'm just going to squish them back down into fluid, but as you look, we got a lot of liquid and just a little bit, looks like a little bit of noodles. Now we have less fluid and a lot of noodles. And this is going to be good. So I'm going to put the lid back on it and let it cook a little bit longer. Well, there she is, kids. It's all done. It has absorbed all of that liquid, and everything looks yummy. The noodles are done. I've tasted them. They're just the right tenderness I want. So this is ready to serve. I'm going to have that and some green beans and our corn as soon as it's done out of the microwave. It's going to be a good meal.